Hi, so this is just a short presentation to try to better illustrate what I'm talking about in terms of our move to a new target operating model for a new operating model for how we're going to run the digital and information service. So it's a bit of a scratch presentation really, but I hope it helps to show some of what I'm talking about. So currently, in my view, the information and technology current engagement model, so the engagement model for DIS, is exemplified on this diagram. On the top, we have current care group specialties. It could be a corporate department, a care group, whatever. And at the bottom here, we have the different technology, information and technology silos in the DIS departments. The engagement method is random. People from care groups or specialties or whatever just get in touch with someone they know, who they know that can get something done, and a piece of work is kicked off or just done. Yeah. In some cases, people engage with different people in different silos, and potentially the approach is not necessarily as organised as it should be. We might not necessarily have joined up solutions. There is not necessarily one view of the whole portfolio of work. So it's a fairly random approach to how things work. That is, as an observation here, care groups and specialties reaching out to individuals, depending on who is helpful, and actually we go from there in terms of how we work today. What we want to move to is we don't want to move to anything that's majorly advanced. So we want to move to, this is a representation of what is the different bits of work a DIS department would be, a digital and information service would do. Clearly, there's a lot of operational resources, so whether or not you're in information governance, whether or not you're in a technology area, BI, whatever, fundamentally, operationally is where the majority of the staff is doing the day-to-day, keeping things running, keeping things working. There's also staff working on projects, delivering projects, making new changes happen, new things like that. And there's generally a change resource, although I suspect we've got a bit of a gap in that regard. We don't necessarily have much change resource, which basically works with business areas to enable them to change the way they do things to get the most out of the technology, and also an area which considers how business areas or clinical areas can change. We don't necessarily have that formalised, but in this type of model, in an ideal world, and this was pulled together the IS light model in the year 2000 time. This is where requests come into the front door, a front door element, and ultimately there is a mix of internal resources delivering against that, and if the internal resources to capacity, potentially you can use external service providers to augment that and deliver against that based on the demand. So it's a front door situation where requirements come in, they are considered, translated for delivery from the delivery side, and some of that can be augmented by external service providers. So that's ultimately where we're going to just be working to in the first instance. Next slide just basically articulates building up on that concept. So a chunk of the digital and information service, a chunk which potentially cuts some of the operations area, some of the projects area in particular, and maybe some of the change area. Some of that is better. The best practice from year 2000 onwards was that it makes great business sense if that capability is embedded in departments, is embedded in care groups or a corporate group or a specialty. And the reason for that, if it's embedded into the business, then we get a greater understanding of what the business is doing, and also from that point of view, we're also managing what the requirements might be from the business and have a greater understanding of what the requirements might be, and importantly, we're able to best contribute to the business direction because we understand what they're trying to achieve in the business, and fundamentally can hopefully align what we do from an IT point of view to help develop business cases. So actually, what we are going to do is make sure we have got better alignment and some folk embedded into care groups or corporate areas, so we're more aligned to what the hospital and the trust are trying to achieve. So in terms of our 2B, at a very basic level, what we want to do is integrate the whole front end. We don't want different routes in. Yes, we still need technical specialties. We definitely need technical specialties. That's really important because it's important to do that. And also, but underpinning that, we do want integrated platforms and standards. So if things that are, from a back office point of view, supporting us, we want to be using some consistent processes, consistent standards, which cut across all the technology silos. So an integrated front end, but also an integrated back end. And they could be standards such as IT infrastructure library. They could be particular standards around change, release, project management, whatever it might be. Maybe there might be particular technologies in terms of management from a support point of view or whatever. So again, we need to be providing a more integrated front end, more integrated back end, although we have different technology skill sets. Go back to the requirements that are coming in to the DIS service. So those requirements are going to come into a new function. The new function might be led, so Kathy Stanley is currently in as an interim position. She's in as a head of project and portfolio management. I think this area is going to be responsible for project portfolio management, business engagement and change. I don't know what we're going to call that, but the idea here, this central bit is really key. So as new requirements come in, which through the business engagement person, through discussions and understanding of what technology can do, and also understanding those requirements. As requirements come in, this unit here is considering how that fits with priorities. It's considering how we do resource management. How do we allocate resources to deliver those priorities? It's considering things such as, are we aligned to the strategy and direction of the trust? Are we making sure that we are simplifying and standardizing capabilities? Are we reusing capabilities for best value across the trust? Yeah. And also, where does this fit in with all the other projects that are going on, the portfolio of projects that we've got across the area? You'll see there's also an architecture function. Now, when I say an architecture function, maybe that'll be one person to start with, or two people, or whatever. But the idea there is that we have architects, solution architects, who actually can help to join up technology solutions. What is the best fit with our IT strategy and direction? Also, what is the best fit with the business strategy and direction? This area is almost got 1 foot in the IT technical camp and 1 foot in the care group and corporate business camp. Once they've determined that, it is this function who will then commission and work with teams here to actually get stuff delivered. Now, realistically, these aren't silos. These folk have to work together. There are people working across the whole of this for this to work effectively, and Kathy is helping to pull together how this is going to work in more detail. In the DIS delivery side of things, we clearly have got various information and technology delivery teams, application development and support, infrastructure services, information governance. We need to think about the intelligence and insight team, and if we manage to secure money from outside, we'll be looking at doing a review of the whole intelligence and insight team, how it works and how it links in with the technologists as well. But actually, these are areas as well which we need to think about how we work much closer and joined up together on. Also, you can see there's the standard requests which come into service desk, so new pieces of work and project work and all that is managed through this PMO type function, but we still got the need to deliver excellent operational support services. We don't necessarily do that to best practice standards now. We don't really apply things like IT infrastructure library type stuff. We don't really apply IT service management type framework stuff. These are standard, well-proven methods for delivering operational services, and they are things that we're going to have to bring in to being. So things like, when we're releasing a new piece of technology, what is the operational sign-off so that we are confident that it can be properly supported, for instance. So that, in essence, is a quick run-through of what our target operating model is going to be about. Open to questions and discussion about this, but it does involve quite a bit of change. It will mean that we will potentially, if we manage to secure money, need to bring in some expertise to help us develop our capabilities. I think that as well as potentially maybe not as much investment as should have been done in IT technologies, I think in a similar vein, I'm not sure we've necessarily invested as much as we should have done if we want to put digital at the core of our strategy in a lot of our staff. So there's a lot of change coming. It's really exciting stuff, and that's the model that we want to be moving towards.